they are not crazy about Israel, to say the least, and they're not crazy about the U.S. And we have to be realistic about that. Another thing is the issue of stability in the Middle East. Why is this area so unstable? It seems that the only constant thing that we can say about the Middle East is that it is a source of instability. Why is that? Well, for sure, one thing that contributes is the fact that it's not democratic. In Israel, we're not afraid of a revolution because we have one every 4 years through democratic elections. If the other countries of the Middle East had a democratic system which is functioning, probably they did not have so much to fear from a revolution. But it's not just that. If you look at could have shut down that for the movie. Okay. If you look at the borders of the Middle East, the countries of the Middle East, you can clearly see that it seems that they were drawn by rulers, just straight lines crossing through the desert. Look here, the Iraqi border, Syrian border, just a straight line. Jordan, just was done by rulers. Egypt, right there, Egypt and Sudan. It looks like it was done by rulers. And you know what it was? Those borders were drawn by rulers. By rulers of the French and British clerks, which sat down after they won World War I, and they just divided areas of influence between them in the Middle East, not taking into account the political, the ethnical, and the religious reality on the ground. So most of the countries of the Middle East, look, just to the words of the president of Egypt, Anwar Sadat. After he made a peace agreement with Israel, and he was assassinated because of that, but never mind that. But when he signed with us the peace agreement, and he heard that a lot of Israelis are so happy because we made peace with the greatest Arab nation. So Sadat said, no, Egypt is not just the greatest Arab nation. It's the only Arab nation. And all the rest are just tribes with flags. Now, I can agree with that, and I think that is too harsh. But there is a certain point in that, in the fact that in many places in the Middle East, if you scratch the surface, you will see tribal politics. And that is because of the way the borders were drawn. In many countries of the Middle East, there is not enough of common grounds between the different minorities or the different ethnic and religious groups that compose those countries. So Libya, clearly what is happening in Libya now is that everybody is afraid that when Gaddafi will be thrown over, then you will see tribal politics in Libya. Then you will see Libya turn into a failed state when Al-Qaeda can thrive, terrorism can thrive, and so on. That is just the reality of the Middle East. Look at what happened to Iraq after the second war in the Gulf. When Saddam Hussein was toppled, and Saddam Hussein, like Gaddafi, I mean, it's hard to imagine any ruler which can be worse than Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi. But after Saddam Hussein was thrown, Iraq almost disintegrated. Why? Because it is composed of different minorities which don't have a lot in common. The Shiites, the Kurds, and the Sunnis. Once Saddam Hussein was toppled, immediately you had civil war, you had terrorism. That is because of this reality. That is the source for instability in the Middle East. Is the fact that these are repressive regimes, don't have democracy, so people don't have room to express their opinions. So when everything changes, it changes dramatically in a revolution. And it is because of the ethnical and religious reality, which in many ways countries are composed of different entities which don't have a lot of common grounds. That was a general background about the Middle East. Now a few words about the real conflict in the Middle East. I said that the conflict in the Middle East Yeah, if you Google it, and I Googled it more than once, if you Google the Middle Eastern conflict, the first results that you will see is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is just ridiculous. And I don't want to go into the figures of the casualties, but let's do them. Let's check the casualties. Until now, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has produced less than 10,000 casualties since 1948, which for us is a big number. For them is a big number. For us, for Israelis and Palestinians, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is a tragedy. And even one casualty is one too many. But I said that I'm trying to get to the bottom of the Middle Eastern conflict. And if you measure the amount of casualties in the Iran-Iraq war, with its 1 million casualties, of all the wars in Iraq, of the war in Afghanistan, of the Darfur genocide in Sudan, of the Algerian civil war, you have roughly 2 million casualties in the Middle East. And ladies and gentlemen, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is highly a fraction. It's not even a fraction of that. So what is the real conflict in the Middle East? And there is a conflict like that. And all of those wars that I mentioned, they have something in common. And that is the real conflict in the Middle East. And the real conflict is the conflict that the Arabs have about their own identity, about where are they going. Are they going towards democracy? Are they going towards the 21st century? Or are they going towards the 9th century? Are they going towards theocracy and radicalization and extremism? And there are very strong forces in the Middle East that try to pull towards that pole. I promised you some words about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Well, look, here's what I think, and I know some of you would like to engage in polemics, and there is no problem about that. I can engage with you about the polemics. We can argue who have better arguments, we or they. It's not about that. It's about both sides. Both sides have some good arguments. Both sides will probably stay in this land for all foreseeable future. It's not about the polemics. It's not about the arguments. It's about how we can live together and how we can reach peace. If you want to argue, if you want to engage in the polemics, we can do that. But that is not the best way to go if we think about the future. And the worst mistake that you can make is to think of it as a zero-sum game. Either us or them. We have so much to gain if we cooperate. We have so much to gain if we work together. Just think of the touristic potential that lies in this small piece of land. Small piece of land which is so important for the Jews, for the Muslims, for the Christians, for all the monotheistic religions. If this small part of land will not be connected with conflict, we will not have 3 or 4 million tourists a year, which we have today. We will have 20 or 30 million tourists per year. We will be like Italy. Imagine what that will do to our daily lives. So it's not about that. It's not about the arguments. It's not about the conflict. It's about how to solve the conflict. And if we are thinking about the solution is well known. The solution has to be the two-state solution. The state of Israel, the nation-state of the Jewish people, and the state of Palestine, the nation-state for the Palestinian people. Those two states living side by side in prospect and in security, that is the only realistic solution. But this solution will not come without making compromises. It will not come without making concessions. And we've said time and again that we are ready for painful concessions to reach solution. And we know what that means. everybody knows what that means. For us, it means conceding tangible assets, conceding a lot of land. This is something that we are ready to do. With regret, I said this, that the other side, it's not so clear what kind of concessions the other side is willing to make. For example, what they call the right of return, which is, how they phrase it, this is the right of anybody who is born of Palestinian descent to, no matter where he lives, to come back and enter the state of Israel. That is something that they insist on, and that is something that we cannot accept, because what they actually mean is allowing 4 or 5 million people who are Palestinian to enter to the state of Israel, and because of the fact that Israel is a democratic country, they will be allowed to vote. And once they do that, once there is no more state of Israel, there is the state of Palestine. All over the whole territory will become the state of Palestine, and this is something that we just cannot accept. Another thing is that they refuse to recognize Israel as the nation state of the Jews. Now, we are ready to recognize Palestine as the nation state of the Palestinians. They should do the same. Without doing that, it will be very difficult to reach solution. So all those concepts of territories, Jerusalem, these are problems that can be solved. Those issues of recognition of those nationalistic dreams that are not realistic, that is something that we must wake up from. It will not get us anywhere. I think it's about the time to open it for Q&A. I spoke a little bit about the Middle East, about the real cause for instability in the Middle East, about the fact that I think the role of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been receiving far too much attention if we want to understand the real nature of the problems of the Middle East. I spoke a little bit about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, trying to outline the solution, because I think that is more important to look at the solution than to look at the arguments and the polemics. That will not get us anywhere. And I would like to open the stage. So now, Julie, you're going to play. Thanks.